Meta has appointed Dina Powell McCormick as president and vice chair. I want to bring on editor in chief Jessica Lessin to help us break down the news. Jessica, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here, Akash. Busy news morning already.
So, Dina Powell McCormick, what do we know about her? Why is Zuckerberg going with her? Tell us your take on it all.
Yeah, and this is a big news, Akash. I mean, it's sort of the third time in Meta's history that Mark has had a deputy like this by his side. Dina really combines several things. First of all, she is an ultimate insider in the world of the Middle East, in how it operates, in the funding coming out of it. She has spent much of her career as a banker focused on that region. Mark highlighted this in something that is going to help fuel the company's AI boom. And so I think that's a big part of it. The second is she is as insider as it gets in US politics. You can see this morning the comments from Trump and the Trump administration and people close to him celebrating this move. This gives Meta an even more direct line to the White House.
Okay. And tell me, you said I'm trying to draw historical parallels here. You said this is the third deputy that Zuckerberg has appointed before. So this is sort of the Sheryl Sandberg role. Is that what this is, or is this something
It's
different?
what it's become. And I think you're going to see a lot of headlines comparing because people like to compare women to women. So I think we should not do that. But if you look, Mark in building Meta, then Facebook, has always looked for a strong number two to do the things that either he doesn't want to do or thinks he's not very good at, but are of growing importance to the company. And I think back in the earliest days, that was building the ads business under Sheryl. Then we had more recently Nick Clegg, who was in this lead policy kind of role, very focused on Europe. And now we have Dina. And so I think it's interesting. Obviously, there are a number of other senior leaders around here, around Mark and around the company. But I think this is a move to really address that intersection of politics and business that's of growing importance, and a sign that Mark expects that to be more and more of the company's time.
Hmm. And I do want to get to the Google news in a second here because we also had the Google news that just dropped. But I wonder what reporting questions you have here, looking at what initiatives she helps lead going forward. Or, I mean, we're still waiting for all of those high-profile hires from the AI team to really pan out. We, are waiting for new versions of the Llama models to drop. What are you watching for here?
And my phone's kind of going off this morning, Akash, with people who were very positive on the reaction to this hire. And I'll say that's from people, former Meta employees, current Meta employees, people around the company, people who've been critical of the company. I think there is this sense that she will bring new skills to the table, new relationships. So I think those are the open reporting questions around this role. Obviously, the big question is, while those researchers are toiling away chasing superintelligence, what is the company's spend going to look like? What are its operations when it comes to the building out of AI infrastructure? Who are the partners who are going to help fund that? And I think Dina is going to be in the center of all of those conversations.
Right. Okay, so let's get to the Apple Google news. So Apple has said now it's going with Google, and I got to tell you, 2026. I mean, what a year for Google already. We just saw, and we just talked earlier in the show about the shopping features that Google has unveiled with Gemini. Apple is saying they're going with Google. Obviously, this is a relationship we know has been close for quite some time. What do you make of this?
Well, it's really tough news for OpenAI. So if you rewind a little bit, Apple was struggling with Siri, still is. And Sam Altman and OpenAI were actually the first to the partnership table last year. And I think kudos to them. It shows Altman's deal-making skills and power that they got a kind of modest deal with Apple. And we still don't know actually how beneficial it was. But Siri was routing some questions to ChatGPT. Then Google, a bigger company, presumably takes longer to negotiate, also negotiates kind of a similar arrangement. They're in conversations, and the headlines today are just the culmination of that. And I think you're right. I don't know if we can call one of my 2026 predictions checked off, Akash, but I said Gemini seals a major partnership with a kind of rival competitor. I actually wasn't thinking of this one. So
Right.
more to come. But yes, I think it's a sign of not just the Gemini technology. Let's face it, Apple and Google have a very, very, very long history of partnering around search and so many other things. I think they were probably waiting for the regulatory decks to clear a little bit because of those big antitrust cases that have largely been resolved, although there's implementation questions. So I kind of think this was inevitable. And yes, it's good for Google, and it's going to leave OpenAI, it's going to put the pressure on them to continue to build their own distribution, which they've done a great
maybe
job of.
their own hardware. I mean, I'm just thinking about,
Yeah.
they need hardware now if they're going to get it in people's hands even more so. I mean, I wonder what Johnny Ive is looking at this and saying, okay, well, you know, we'll get back to work, I guess, right?
I mean, Altman's always known he's had to control his own destiny. I think he's also been really savvy at sealing those Microsoft deals, those early Apple deals, to try and get a leg up. But the incumbents are here to play. Google and those legacy relationships are still intact. So it absolutely raises the pressure on all sorts of distribution, those we use today and those yet to be invented.
Great. Well, Jessica, I want to thank you for coming on. That is Jessica Lessin, our editor in chief and founder here at The Information.